Welcome to Treadmill Talks with Shannon Maves, a podcast for athletes and fitness enthusiasts to pass the time during mind-numbing cardio while I use my no-bullshit coaching style to educate, inspire, and entertain. I'm your host, Shannon Maves. Now let's walk and talk. Hello, and welcome to episode 58 of Treadmill Talks, the one about rebound weight gain. My goal for today's episode is to try to explain in a way that is easy to understand how and why so many diets result in rebound weight gain, as well as how to find a more sustainable approach. Now, the term diet itself does not actually imply fat loss, although that is how many people use the term nowadays. But your diet is simply the food you consume on a regular basis. But for today's episode, I want to be clear that when I am using the term diet, I am referring to crash diets, fad diets, or any other type of quick fix approach to fat loss. These are going to be things like keto, Atkins, Whole30, South Beach, low-fat diets, liquid diets, juice cleanses, etc. Basically, any type of diet that forbids or restricts entire food groups and or severely limits caloric intake. These are the type of diets that so many people claim worked until I stopped doing it. To which I like to respond with something along the lines of, if it worked, then why did you stop doing it? Because here's the thing. If the methods are unsustainable, so are the results. And these types of diets are unsustainable for the vast majority of people. Sure, there will always be some people who are outliers, and for whatever reason, they love not eating carbs or fats or something, so they are able to sustain these types of diets and keep the weight off. They're completely fucking up their internal health, but I'll get into that later. But most people who try these types of crash diets, whether they lose weight or not, find themselves feeling fucking miserable while they're doing them, which is one reason why they are so excited for their diet to be over, which is where the issue lies. Well, there's multiple issues, but this is where one of the issues lies. Because when you eliminate an entire food group like carbs or fats or dairy or something, you are also eliminating some pretty essential nutrients. Meaning that even though the number on the scale might be going down, there is a much higher probability that your internal health is also going down. Low-fat diets lead to higher chances of deficiencies in fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. Low-carb diets lead to higher chances of deficiencies in B vitamins and essential minerals. And these can cause some serious damage to your liver and kidneys, raising cortisol, causing issues with sleep, and creating other hormone imbalances. But since these are all just quick diets that nobody stays on for a long time, those deficiencies aren't too big of a deal, right? Because once you lose the weight, you can eat all of that stuff again, and then you won't be deficient in those things anymore. Except not, because the hormonal damage that's been caused can last a lot longer than the diet itself. When you diet too hard, too quickly, or for too long of a period of time, your thyroid will downregulate. And your thyroid plays a very big role in how quickly your metabolism runs. So when your thyroid downregulates, your metabolism slows. meaning that the calories you had been consuming while you were maintaining your previous weight are not the same calories your body can handle at your new goal weight. Here's an example of what I mean by this. And I'm just going to use some friendly round numbers for the sake of simplicity. Please don't read too far into these numbers as they are completely made up for this example. But let's say that you've been eating 2,000 calories per day and you've been maintaining at 180 pounds. And then you went on some type of crash diet where you slashed your calories down to like 1,000 per day and you were able to get your weight down to 150. Once you reach 150 pounds, you can't just go right back to eating 2,000 calories per day and expect to maintain your new weight of 150 pounds because your hormones have been down regulated so severely that your new maintenance calories are going to be much lower than 2,000. You might have to eat just 1,500 calories per day in order to maintain that 150 pounds, at least until your hormones regulate themselves back to a healthier level. But if you were to just jump right back to that 2,000 calories per day, you're now eating in a surplus of calories. And since your body has been so deprived of food and nutrients, it's going to cling to those excess calories and store them as fat in anticipation of you starving yourself again. Eventually, your weight will level out once you reach a weight where that 2,000 calories is your new maintenance calories again. But it's very likely that this is going to be at an even higher weight this time around because of the hormonal and metabolic damage that was done from the drastic approach that was taken. Another thing to consider when it comes to your maintenance calories is that no matter what approach you take, even if it's the healthiest and most sustainable approach in the world, your maintenance calories will become lower as you lose weight because the less weight you're carrying around on a daily basis, the less calories you are expending on a daily basis. And the more weight you are carrying around on a daily basis, the more calories you are expending on a daily basis. And just in case that doesn't make sense, think of it like this. If I weigh 150 pounds and I walk around carrying a 30-pound weight all day, that's a pretty solid fucking workout, right? I'm going to expend a decent amount of calories lugging around that much weight all day. So if I were to gain 30 pounds, then I am essentially walking around holding a 30-pound weight all day. Weighing more requires expending more energy. The same thing applies when you lose weight. If you go from 180 pounds down to 150 pounds, suddenly you're not carrying around that 30-pound weight all day. And everything is going to feel a lot easier. And when things are easier, your body doesn't need to expend as many calories. So your maintenance calories are not going to be as high as they previously were. Unfortunately, this concept does apply to any type of weight loss, whether it's a crash diet or a very healthy approach. If you want to weigh less, you are going to have to eat less. But it's not always as drastic as a lot of people think. Sometimes it's only a difference of like 100 calories. Obviously, it depends on the person and the situation and how much weight they have to lose. But I promise it doesn't mean that you have to starve yourself for the rest of your life. And if you understand this concept of how maintenance calories change and become lower as your weight becomes lower, then you can start to understand what a weight loss plateau actually is. A plateau is when the scale stops dropping and starts to level off. because you have reached your new maintenance calories, because you are walking around in a body that is carrying less weight. Let's say you've been in a fat loss phase for a few months and things have been going well, your weight's been going down, but for the past month, your weight has not budged. Now, there are a few other things that could potentially be going on here. So I don't want to oversimplify or give any false or misleading information or anything. But there is a good chance that what is happening is you've reached your new maintenance calories. Because if you're losing weight, then your body is expending less calories carrying around a lighter body. So even though you are eating less calories than you had been, you might need to eat less calories than you are now in order to get things moving along again. But the first thing I want you to be very mindful of is how to know when you have actually hit a plateau. Because if your weight doesn't change for a few days or even a full week, that does not necessarily mean that you have hit a weight loss plateau, because there are so many variables to consider with weight loss. Things like stress, sleep, digestion, training intensity, menstrual cycle, food choices, and about a million other things can cause the scale to fluctuate. And sometimes the scale won't budge for a solid week. Oftentimes, I see the scale stick during the week of a woman's period or during the week of ovulation. It doesn't mean that she's reached her new maintenance calories. It just means her hormones are doing some shit and we need to be patient, which is why I recommend tracking averages and trends with your scale weight. Don't just look at what your weight is doing on a daily basis, but rather a weekly or even monthly basis. If your weight hasn't changed for a few weeks, then yeah, maybe it's time to make a small, subtle change to get things moving again. The key word there, though, is subtle. Because again, the changes you make don't have to be as drastic as you might think. Just because you've hit a plateau doesn't mean you need to slash your calories in half to continue making progress. Sometimes lowering them just by like 50 or 100 can get things moving again, which is a much more sustainable approach. Making small changes that you barely even notice can lead to long lasting results. Instead of thinking about weight loss as, okay, if I kill myself for 2 months, then I can look good in a bikini this summer. And rather thinking about it more like, okay, if I have half a cup of oatmeal every day instead of a full cup, that's something I can adhere to for a long time. And it'll help control how many calories I'm consuming on a regular basis. Small changes like that will add up. And you won't be a miserable, grumpy, tired asshole for 2 months. Sure, it'll take more time to reach your goal weight and it requires a bit more patience, but don't give up on a dream because of the amount of time it will take to achieve it, because the time is going to pass anyways. And isn't it going to feel a hell of a lot better next summer when you look like a fucking smoke show in your bikini and you aren't starving 24/7? There are a lot of different ways you can make small changes like this. It's a matter of finding which ones are doable for you. If you're like, oh, hell no, I need my full cup of oatmeal in the morning, then have your full cup of oatmeal in the morning. Maybe you could try having half of a sandwich on your lunch break rather than a full sandwich, or swap your side of chips for a side of fruit. Or instead of going out every day for your lunch break, you only go out on Fridays for your lunch break. Not only will your wallet thank you for that, but going out for lunch once a week instead of 5 times a week is going to seem like much more of a treat, too. An hour-long cardio session 5 times per week isn't typically something that most people can adhere to for a long time, but increasing your step goal by just another 1,000 steps per day is usually pretty manageable. Going for a 10-minute walk before dinner every night is usually pretty manageable. Instead of buying movie theater popcorn every weekend, bring a big purse and sneak in your own air popped popcorn. Instead of ordering a fruity drink at dinner, order a lower calorie drink like a vodka soda. There are ways to lose weight that won't make you miserable. You have to find what works for you, though. And remember that what works for you might not work for somebody else. And the same thing goes the other way around. Just because your best friend had success doing something one way doesn't mean that you will too. We are all different. And finding your healthy balance will look different than your best friend's healthy balance. I always say that your best weight is whatever weight you reach once you are living the healthiest lifestyle that you actually enjoy. Some people enjoy eating chicken, rice, and veggies every day and living in a leaner body. Others enjoy having a little bit more body fat if it means that they get to go out for pizza and wine on the weekends. As long as you are healthy and happy, then keep doing you. Our bodies are so unbelievably remarkable, and they are capable of some seriously cool shit. I mean, they are capable of a hell of a lot more than our minds limit us to believe. But I get it. You want to look good in your body too. That's totally understandable. Here's the thing though. Once you start to focus on feeling good and eating and exercising in a way that is out of love and respect for your body, the internal results that you feel will begin to reflect outwardly. And if you want help finding your balance and developing a more sustainable and enjoyable approach, then click the link in the show notes to apply to work with me. Thank you for listening to Treadmill Talks. If this episode taught you something, lit a fire under your ass, or at least helped you forget how long you've been walking in place, please leave a review or take a screenshot to share on your social media. Don't forget to tag me at Shannon Maves so I can give you some love right back. And thanks again for listening to my Treadmill Talk.